Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we're going to be discussing the mental forge in which you shape yourself. So, when we think about thinking, what is the purpose of thinking, right? Well, if we take dimensional extrapolation and we break it apart, we could categorize our reality into a multitude of dimensional spaces, if you would, right? So, if you know that you are you, an individualized aspect of identity, you have a focal point that goes out like a cone. You have your inner world, which are your thoughts and your emotions, which you can identify and or disidentify with, okay? So if you think of your base function, you are awareness personified, meaning that you have the ability to focus, which means you have the ability to place awareness on something or ignore it. Then you have an external world if you wanted to dissect reality in such a way. You have your internal world and your external world. So when you look at metaphysics, hidden physics, you want to think of how are these unseen realms factoring into the seen realm around me, okay? You would have a natural progression towards understanding things like manifestation, because manifestation at its root word means unseen to seen, right? Or if you look at other creators, they talk about manifestation being so internally fulfilled with something that you forget about it on the external world, and so it must populate your external reality, right? When you think about thinking, this is important because what you think you become and what you focus on you create. These are the laws, okay? This isn't like me making this up or trying to sell you something. This is how this stuff works. What you think you become. What a wonderful thing, right? Because you're a thinker. You have the capacity to think and you have the capacity to focus, right? Whether or not you exercise those capabilities is dependent on your awareness level, your ability to stay awake. Why is that important? Well, if you want to talk about higher dimensions, it's not really an issue because everything is in the light. Everything is aware. It's like if you flip a light switch on, you're able to see everything, right? In this realm, commonly referred to as scary, spooky time, there is a veil of forgetfulness, meaning that it's almost like an etheric cloud of miasma that clouds everything, right? So it's like, why do people harp on the term, you got to wake up or whatever, right? It's ad nauseum. Well, it's because this place, scary, spooky time, has a miasma around it, okay? That makes you forget who you were, makes you forget where you came from, makes you forget a bunch of stuff. Long story short, okay? So, first step, realize that awareness is just light on everything. Because if you're aware of something, right? If you're aware that there's a rock in your shoe, you can take it out. If you're not aware that there's a rock in your shoe, you just are aware that it's painful to walk, and so you don't want to walk, right? So awareness is great because it highlights everything. It essentially opens up your potentiality. Now, if you're thinking about potentiality and how to expand your potentiality, why would you focus on something like awareness? Well, because if you can see the path, you can see multiple paths and you can choose the path that you desire, okay? So when you think about thinking, what you think you become and what you focus on, you create. Very good news, because both of those things are exclusively under your control. Meaning that once you are aware of those aspects of your beingness, nobody can have control over you, because once you re-centralize your power from an internal standpoint, you can defend against external impressions. Think about external impressions, right? Oh no, they had trauma when they were a kid, and now this is why they only eat bean sprouts. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all of these secondary causations that form and mold your identity that you had no say in. You had no part, you didn't partake in any of the creation of that. You didn't decide this would be good for me if I got traumatized and now the only food I can eat is bean sprouts. It was just impressed upon you. And it was accepted because you were asleep, just like I was and just like everybody else is. So let yourself off the hook for that. When you wake up and you have higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of awareness, you're able to see different pathways and you're able to choose the pathways that are in your favor, okay? So what you want to understand is that when you begin to think about thinking and how your thought processes are interlaced with the external events of reality, including the coordination of people, places, and circumstances that you run into, you are now set up to win because you are now in a position to control your own mind in a way that formats the reality to bend to your will, okay? So when you think about thinking, you want to think as if you are the identity who has what they want or does what they want because you are an individual. Identity, impression. I've been impressed. When you impress a brand onto something, what does it do? It leaves a mark. Wow, he really impressed me. He left a good impression on me. I think I'm going to be more like him or more like her. So when you understand that your identity is your malleable nature, that you manifest and express yourself as, you look at things like trying to get rid of the ego, spiritual warfare, because it's trying to make you malleable and pliable, right? Just whatever happens, happens. No, you decide what happens, okay? So when you are forging this identity, you are thinking first person affirmative with command. You do not sit and placate the universe with, so happy and grateful now that I got $20 coming in every 30 minutes. And then wait for it to respond. Where is it coming from? I've done it 1,000 times. No, you decree with command, I am this, from your bone marrow, from the source of who you are, right? Because the molecular structure of water responds to sound, frequency, and resonance. And guess what? You're 80% water, okay? So extrapolate that to a further subdimension. Why does water shape itself in either symmetry when you're on more loving, harmonious frequencies, or disharmony when you are in chaos? Well, that's because consciousness shapes itself according to your will, okay? What you think, you become, and what you focus on, you create. And you create through thought and speech. Speech and thought will be the guides of man through all eternity, okay? So mastering your mind and your speech is of the utmost importance because those are your weapons. Those are your tools to carve reality in the way that you see fit, right? The thing is that you, when stating an I am affirmation, are that thing now. Now, the perspective you can take on it is you are that thing now caked in an old reality of what you once were, okay? So when you say, I am doing this, the old reality of which you either consciously or unconsciously stated and affirmed is the reality that has been expressed and externalized because the universe is always at your command, right? The only issue is that if you fall asleep, you're giving commands and you don't know what you're commanding. And oftentimes you're commanding, show me how disempowered I am, right? So when people talk about taking your power back, what that means is taking back the source of your power and applying that to your affirmations of being, okay? So when you state, I am something, feeling it to be real now is key because you want that power backing. You want to understand that your power is what is heard and responded to. The universe is a mirror, okay? So when you say things from disempowerment, it doesn't necessarily hear the words, it hears the intent behind it. So garnering serious intent and taking yourself seriously when you do these things can magnify your power and results because of your will behind them. Think about the resonance. Think about the frequency. Think about the vibration of what you are saying and how you are saying it. You want to get to a point of absolute certainty. Certainty is a lack of contradictory energy, okay? So it's not necessarily about faking it till you make it or whatever. It's that point of ritualistic affirmation to the point of eliminating that old identity. So if your goal is health, right, and you're really unhealthy currently, and you say, I am healthy, right? That internal structure is modulating to health immediately. But what you are dealing with is the external, that are the reverberative effects of what you could say were the causation of even the desire to be healthy, right? So in that way, you can look at it as a positive, as that unhealthy reality is caked on you. That's why people run into issues a lot of times with creation, because they're like, nothing's changing. Well, that's because the internal changes before the external. So persistence is the name of the game, because if you can ritualize persistence in your daily life and ride out that current of that old identity and learn how to die properly to that old identity, which is really just releasing that attachment and releasing that identification to that, you will become that thing 100% of the time, right? So understanding that affirmation, tactics, visualization, all of these things do create reality in their own nature, but reality responds to conquerors. It does not respond to people who are haphazardly 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So understanding that power comes from you, never outside of you. There is no power in any process. There is no power in any type of methodology that you could research or garner that will permit you what you want, because you are the creative genesis when you speak these things, but you must know that to be true. So I am is the forge in which you forge yourself into what you want to be. And through the fire of burning that old identity away, you will be resurrected as your ideal. So I know you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave comments in the comments section. If you look at the link tree, there is the Spartan 1, the Inner Conquest programs, if you want to work with me one-on-one over the course of 6 weeks. Additionally, there are options for emails, calls, and all of that good stuff. The one thing that I want to say today, guys, is go conquer, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.